Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to today's video, where today we are in the middle of the year, which means we are going to do my mid-year book tag. Now, a lot of people have been doing it either before or around this time, and when you guys are seeing it, it is going to be July 1st, which is the day right before the middle of the year, which is actually July 2nd, which I actually looked up to make sure like when I could post this video and when I could do this video and such. I am recording this like a week in advance, I would say, just to make sure everything's together and everything's in control for this. But basically, if you don't know how these mid-year book tags type of work, I have some questions on my phone. I think I have maybe like 15, 16 questions where I have a lot of books next to me. I have a lot of books where I'm just basically going to go through them, answer the questions with books that I have read. And so far this year, let me look up my stats actually to see how I am doing with books. So I'm currently looking in Fable right now, and right now I've only read about 28 books out of the 75 that I want to read this year. My longest streak is a 32-day streak, and my average rating throughout this year has been a 3.9. And my reader summary goes like this: thrilling empath, tales of heart-pounding suspense and deep social issues fill your reading. Each story highlights the pressing need for change, which honestly kind of makes sense for me and such, you know? And looking at some other ones and such, like according to this, the average amount of pages that I read, and this is specifically over the last 10 weeks, is like 357 pages, which is honestly pretty nice, to be honest with you, you know? The most read genre that I have this year is romance with 14 books. And I have 7 thrillers, 6 mysteries, 4 literary fiction, and then 3 short stories, which is fun, with a total of 14 genres this year so far. But yeah, pretty much. And the most read author that I have this year is Frederick Bachman with 4 books. Then it's Alexandra Bellfleur and Emily Henry with both 2. So without further ado, let's get into question number 1. And if you guys want to do this for yourself, I will link the questions in the description below as well too. So if you guys want to use this for your book tags, you can go ahead and do it as well. I've kind of like curated these from ones that I've seen and ones that I kind of figured out on my own. I was just like, yeah, this sounds fun. So the first question I have is the best book you've read so far in 2026. So I have 2 specifically books that I have loved reading this year. And this first one that I have, it made me sob so much, but I'm so glad I read it. And that is The Winners by Frederick Bachman. As you can see here, this is the 3rd book within the Beartown trilogy, and something that I really loved about this trilogy, it is fiction. It is very hard and heartbreaking, but it's also so loving and so beautiful and just so amazing to kind of read about. Like I've said in many of like reviews and such, I love so many of these characters. I also hate so many of these characters, and within this one specifically, we got introduced to so many more characters, not just in Beartown, but also in Hied, which is the rival town pretty much next to Beartown, and we get to see the dynamic a little bit more with that, because that is a very big conflict throughout this entire trilogy, and I just love it so much. I'm pretty sure this is in my God tier list because it is a 6-star, and it is one of 2 6-stars that I've had this year as well. It's just so wonderful. And then the other best book that I read was actually a thriller that actually kind of shocked me, but considering that I did like his book last year, it shouldn't have surprised me that much. But it is Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. Like I said, I read The Last Word by him last year. Absolutely loved it. Ended up tearing up at the end. This one had me full blown sobbing by the end, and specifically the way that he writes about this, like, because the main thing with this is that you're following 2 cavers. Well, one who's an experienced caver and one who is not. And basically something happens to one of them and the other one has to survive. And I believe it's Tess that is the one that survives. And she is basically telling her story about what happened in those caves pretty much. And we're just kind of following from there. And the other girl named Alice, there's something where it's like not as we see, and it's something that's not as as it seems. And you just kind of follow from there. And my God, the plot twist got me. The writing was so scary and so creepy because your main setting is a cave where I believe the biggest, opening, or the smallest opening within the cave was maybe 10 inches. If you can think about putting your body in a 10-inch space. Oh no, 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 no. But also at the same time, I really, really did enjoy it. It made me just kind of appreciate Taylor Adams as an author as well too. And he has definitely moved up to one of my favorite authors in general. So yeah, those were my 2 books that I absolutely loved. Loved, and those were the best books I read this year. Next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year. So the first sequel that I technically have on here is also a part of the Beartown trilogy, and that is Us Against You. Like I said, I read Beartown in, I believe it was winter of 2025. I believe it was in November. I did a thing on it of let's continue and finish a series. It'll pop up on the screen somewhere at least, I did that. And I loved the first book, but then this one, it blew my mind as much as I loved this one as well too. And I will say, these books are very, very hard to get through, but if you do ever want to try it out, and Frederick Bachman, he's such an amazing author, but his books will break you, especially this one. I wouldn't recommend going into this series if you want to first try him out. I went into it with the deep end, and I'm kind of glad I did, because maybe if I went in a different direction, I probably would have been a little bit hesitant to pick up this one and just the series in total. But I love the way that the story continued and how it continued from the previous book, and specifically where we saw our characters, how our characters have grown, how they have changed, how some of them have not grown, and how some of them have just become even bitter about the stuff that happened in the first book. And it was one of those things where the quotes got better, the story got better, and it was just one of those things where it was I knew the winners was going to hurt me, and it did. Don't get me wrong, it really, really did, honestly, but from going from the first book to this one, it was so, so, so good. Then another sequel that I read this year that is technically a part of a trilogy that I read, the first book I read last year around February-ish time as well too, is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in the Skyland trilogy, and the first book was Before I Let Go. I really liked that one. That one was a 4-star, but this one was a 5-star for me personally, mostly because I loved Soledad as a character. I loved Judah as a character as well too. I loved seeing the 2 of them get together and have their lives intertwined, and seeing so much representation, not just with Black people and Black culture and such, but also seeing autistic representation and seeing things like that, where I'm just oh my gosh, this is wonderful. This is amazing. It was an upgrade from Before I Let Go. I will say that. I just absolutely loved it. I think Kennedy Ryan has also become a favorite author of mine because of the way that she dives into romances, where it's not 100% that you're focusing on the romance. It is something where the romance is there, but it's not the forefront of the story. You get to learn more about the characters, learn about them individually, learn what they need from each other, not just romantically, but also what they need each other for in friendship-wise and things like that. And it was just one of those things where it was a huge upgrade from Before I Let Go, hence why it was one of the best sequels that I've read so far. All right, next question I have is, what are some new releases you haven't read but want to? Now, I'm going to kind of go through this kind of rapid fire because I have at least 6 books in this stack, and I'll kind of give you little reasons as to why. I'm not really going to explain the books too much, but first one that I have up here is The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. I think a lot of people want to read this or have either read this because I've seen so many things online about people having so many mixed emotions about this book, mostly because of the trope of boyfriend's best friend. People have either been loving it, people have been either hating it, or they've just kind of been in between with their things. And I kind of want to see, because I'm still getting used to Abby Jimenez. I think I do like her as an author, but I don't know if she's my favorite author in the entire world. I don't know if she's reached Kennedy Ryan status yet, but but that is one of the reasons why this book is very high up on my list as well too. Next one I want to read is Man Mabel by Sally Hepworth. I read Darling Girls last year. Absolutely loved it. It was a great book, and I really like the way that she writes different mysteries and also how it takes place in Australia, because I feel like I never really read any books that really take place in Australia. And one of my favorite books that I read last year was Wild Dark Shore. While it didn't take place in actual Australia, it took place off of like New Zealand, you could just tell that there was a lot of love and care when it comes to the cultures and things like that. And it was one of those things where it's like, it looks like a fun little thing that I can just kind of like get lost in and just kind of put my head in and just like, oh, it's a nice little mystery to just read, you know? So this is another one that I definitely want to read this year that actually just came out I think it came out in April, I'm pretty sure, because it was April's book of the month for this year as well too. Another one that I have is The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark, which I believe is a combination between V.E. Schwab and Kat Clark and their duo-ness of writing this book. And from what I remember, I think it just follows a bunch of authors who were sent on this island to finish up writing this book, or specifically this last chapter of this very popular book series, you know, and just kind of follows from there. It's another mystery as well too, and I've been wanting to read a lot more mystery, plus also just like the plot just like intrigued me with this the most. And it also just released, I believe, in April of this year, you know, and just like I think I'm gonna have a good time with this. Kind of same vibes with like Mad Mabel. I think this is gonna be fun. I don't think it's gonna take itself too seriously. I think it's gonna be one of those things where I definitely read in the fall time. That'll definitely be one of those things like, oh, that was great. That was fun. Another new release to be read in the fall time is The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer. I have not read anything by Meg Schaefer, but specifically with this one, where I believe it was a woman who was thrown into this book, and she kind of has like these like witchiness powers where she can kind of like get into different books. It seems like peak fall, peak like vibes and things like that. I'm pretty sure this was also another book that came out in April, but again, I could be completely wrong on that. But another one of those like happy good vibes, and I think it's going to be just a fun time in general. Next one I have is Phoebe Berman is Gonna Lose It by Brooke Averick. This one has been popping up recently and such. It's popped up in my circles, and I think a lot of people know what this one is about. But one of the things that I think will be fun and such with this one is just the premise. The premise sounds so funny. It sounds so cute. I don't know if I'm going to love it too much, but I think I will kind of enjoy for what it is and what it wants to be, and just kind of enjoying it on that realm pretty much, you know. And then last up in this stack is Harvest Season by Bryn Weaver. I'm currently reading Tourist Season right now, so I'm hoping that when I get done with Tourist Season, I can jump into Harvest Season, because I kind of want to be on track for when the third book in this trilogy comes out. I don't really know what Harvest Season is about too much, but I know with Tourist Season, following Harper and Nolan, they are serial killers. Nolan is basically trying to kill Harper for a wrong that happened in his life, and they unexpectedly need to work together when a true crime person comes to their town or whatever, you know. It's just kind of following from there. I also associate this with like peak summer vibes for some reason, and I think it's going to be funny. I think it's not going to take itself too seriously like Tourist Season. And I think I'm just going to have a great time with Harvest Season, you know? This is one of my favorite questions. My next question that I have here is most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. So the first one that I have up on this list is, of course, Heartstopper Volume 6 by Alice Oseman. I am sad, but also very happy that we are finally getting the last book and that the movie is going to be coming out very shortly afterwards. I believe it is coming out on July 7th. I have my pre-order ready to go, and I'm just so excited. I'm also doing a rereading vlog while also reading the 6th volume in that series, because it is just one of those things where it's going to kind of close another chapter of my reading journey, and I'm just so excited to read about it and enjoy it and just kind of have fun with that one, you know. And if you guys want me to also do some stuff where I like rewatch the show geared up to the movie as well too, I can 100% do that because, you know, I love Heartstopper. I love Alice Oseman. I can't wait to see what they do in the future as well too. And I'm just so excited, but also so sad at the same time. The next one that I have for like new releases, like an anticipated one, is The Butcher Legacy by Elena Urquhart. Now, I have not seen a lot of people talking about this one, but I believe it is going to be the end of a trilogy with The Butcher Legacy. We have like The Butcher and the Wren and The Butcher Game, and then ending it with The Butcher Legacy. I have loved this book ever since it came out first in 2022, since the first book came out in 2022. The second one came out in 2024, and I reread Butcher and Wren for that before reading The Butcher Game because it had been a while since I read it. And now we're into The Butcher Legacy. So that's coming out at I think it's in the middle of August, I believe. And I will also be doing a video related to that, rereading the first two books and then also reading this one, because it's one of those things where it was one of those books where I first read when I was first getting back into reading, and I just loved it even throughout my rereads. It was even funnier, it was even more just hilarious, and it was one of those things where you're just like, oh my god, these characters are so smart, but also you also kind of end up kind of like rooting for the villain, and I'm like, what? Why am I rooting for the villain? You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like a thriller horror type of vibe, you know? And I'm overall excited for that one. Next new release I have is The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillig. I want to read The Night and the Moth later this year around fall-ish time. So that way when I get The Knave and the Moon, I can just read that and just kind of like do that, because I've been wanting to read a lot more fantasy. And I feel like with Rachel Gillig and like her vibes that I've heard with her books, I think I would really like her books, you know? I once tried to read The Night and the Moth at one point when I was doing some stuff last year, but then I did not end up reading it. So I'm hoping with this year, once I get The Night and the Moth, or not The Night and the Moth, The Knave and the Moon, I should be able to read the first book. And then the last anticipated release I have on here is The Keeper by Anna Huang. This one's coming out in October, specifically end of October, and it is going to be the end of the Gods of the Games trilogy, which that one, I love Anna. You guys know that. And I feel like I have a lot more luck with her Kings of Sin series than I have with her Twisted and even her Gods of the Game. Like, I don't mind her Gods of the Game thing. It's a very much one of those things where it's like, oh, I just kind of pick it up to just kind of like have fun and do that or whatever, you know what I mean? And I've only read The Striker. I at one point did try to read The Defender, but then I had to put it down. But I'm hoping this year I should be able to finish The Defender before I get to The Keeper. And yeah, those are some of the anticipated releases that I have. This next question I have is, what was your biggest surprise? Now, this can either be on the good or bad side of things. So I have one book for each category. So the first one that was a good surprise for me was The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. I don't constantly think about it, but whenever I look at it, I'm always reminded of a great time and just learning so much about like this world and kind of understanding a little bit more about like how these things work. And specifically, I really liked the way that Sarah was able to weave together so many stories, not just from the present timeline, but also from the past timeline as well. And it's one of those books where I really don't see anybody talking about it. And also, if you look at this book is just like gorgeous in general. I mostly audiobooked it while reading it on my Kindle most of the time. And I really, really did enjoy the story. It is definitely one of those where like I would recommend it to people, even though I know that not a lot of people do. Like, this is one of those underrated books where I'm like, people need to talk about this more, because it was one of those things where even though I did end up liking the past timeline a lot more than the present, which I think is what was meant to be because it's technically under the historical fiction vibes of things. But it was just one of those stories where it kind of brought together a sense of belonging and family and understanding and things like that. And it was just one of those stories where it was so fun and it was just amazing to read about. So this was a very, very good surprise for me personally. So I will say on the opposite side of that, I did have a bad surprise, specifically with a book that I kind of hyped up in my brain for a little bit, but that was Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I really did not like this book. I couldn't get it. I genuinely could not get it. I feel like a lot of people know what this is about, so I'm not going to bore you with that at least. But it's one of those books where I can see the messages that it was trying to do, but I don't think I was the specific target audience for this story, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. I don't mind that whatsoever. It was just in the way that it was executed and the way that it was just thrown about. I was just really, it almost kind of hurt me when I was just I feel nothing. I legitimately feel nothing from this story. I don't feel anything towards these characters. I don't feel anything towards anybody within this story. And it was one of those thrillers where it's very character driven. But for me, when it comes to character driven thrillers, you need to be able to help me the character in order to get invested in their story so that as the plot continues on and it's related to the characters themselves, I can have something to root for. But for this one, I couldn't root for any of them. And that was why it was such a big, bad surprise, which sucks, I think I do want to keep reading his stuff just to kind of see what I like, because I do like the way that he wrote this. The way that he wrote it was very good, but I just did not like the story whatsoever. All right, this next question I have is, what are some new favorite authors, or specifically, who are some new favorite authors that you discovered this year so far? So I have two authors that I have discovered this year. They're both kind of very different on the genre side of things, which I think is very, very funny. But the first author that I actually discovered this year was Alexandra Belle Fleur. So far I have read this book by her, which is Playing for Keeps and The Devil She Knows, which will come up a little bit later in this tag. But with this one and such, the way that Alexandra, she writes a lot of romances, not just sapphic, but she also writes heterosexual romances. And the way that she writes is very funny. It's very much character driven on the side of things. And I just think that if I keep reading her books, I think I'm just going to have a really, really fun time. And it's just going to be one of those things where I can just kind of turn off my brain and either listen to one of her books or just read one of her books in general. And I will just have a good time with it in general. Another author that I also discovered this year, and I've only read one of his books, but I definitely want to continue on reading more of his books in the future, but that is Blake Crouch. Specifically, I read Recursion this year. I recently read it, so it's still kind of fresh in my mind, and holy fucking shit. This book was crazy, but specifically one of the things that I think I really liked about Blake Crouch is the way that he's able to explain scientific methods and scientific facts and scientific things to the broad audience. Sometimes I could see where it could get confusing for some people, but if you pay attention at the beginning of his books and specifically what they are specifically just talking about in general, it would make a lot of sense as you keep continuing on through the book. And yeah, it's a sci-fi, which I'm pretty sure this is my first sci-fi that I've read as an adult. And you know what? it was not that bad of not an adult. It was not that bad of a book for a sci-fi novel and such. But yeah, Blake Crouch is definitely one of those where I'm definitely going to be continuing on reading his books because I think his books will be really, really good as I keep kind of like going through his stuff. Then question number 7 I have is, who are some of your newest fictional crushes? So I have 4 on here, and they're all for very different reasons, and I will explain why. Now, I do have a couple repeats in this stack, which it makes sense. I've only read maybe like 28 books, and some of them have only really been like stuck in my mind, like this, but my first fictional crush that I developed this year was with Mr. Judah Cross in This Could Be Us. I love this man so much. He is great. He is sensitive. He is wonderful. And most of all, he knows how to communicate. Can we get a round of applause for that? If Soledad had not taken him, I would have jumped on his bones. I'm not gonna lie. Granted, I am a couple years younger than him, but I really, really did love Judah in this story. I love the way that he was able to not only help his family, but also help out with Soledad and help out just in general and kind of just be one of those things that like Soledad really, really needed in her life. It was just, it was so wonderful. I love Judah so much. I think he's probably my favorite so far out of the boys. I still need to read Can't Get Enough in order to make that decision final, but he was definitely my first fictional crush that I had this year. My second fictional crush is actually Kate from Tempting Olivia by Claire Ashton. I love Kate so much. She's so funny. She's so witty. She's just one of those people where I really liked learning about her story and learned a little bit more about why she is the way that she is and how she kind of like lets Olivia's kind of like guard down in a way, which I really love to see that happen. Like, this is Kate and this one is Olivia and such. And it was so cool to just kind of like see Kate and how she was able to not only just grow for herself, but also help Olivia grow out of her shell, and how much Olivia was there for her in Kate's time of need as well too, when she was going through her divorce and things like that. And also the description of Kate, not only just from this like illustrated drawing, but just in general, I was just like, I love that. I love Kate so much. That's great. So she was my second like fictional crush that I developed this year. My third fictional crush is actually someone that I kind of expected, but also not really. And that is Miles from Funny Story. Now, I recently read Funny Story. I really, really loved it. I thought it was so funny. I almost contemplated giving it a 5-star for a couple weeks now, but it's definitely sitting at like the 4.5 category. But even though we only get Daphne's point of view in this, I could just feel Miles's love through the book. I could just feel his energy and feel the love that he felt, not only just for his friends, but for Daphne, his sister, and other people in his life too. And I just love how caring and understanding he is. And also, he's kind of the guy that I would go for more than likely in real life. Like, he's not the typical male main character where you fall in love with instantly and they have like this like electric chemistry at the beginning when they first meet. Like, Daphne and Miles, they don't really know too much about each other, but then as they start like kind of like learning things about each other, being roommates and just doing this like fake dating thing to get at their exes, it makes a whole lot of sense as to why Miles is the way that he is and why he just is so wonderful and just is just like, I love him so much. If Daphne didn't come and see Miles, I more than likely would have, honestly. Then my last fictional crush that I have this year is on Daphne from The Devil She Knows. Daphne is so funny. I will say that this book is not the best thing in the entire world, but it is one of those books where like you just kind of suspense your belief and kind of just suspense some things. It's a nice little low stakes kind of fantasy type of vibes where it's basically about this woman who she's like she has the day from hell, and then Daphne appears to her, and she is basically a demon. And she gives Sam these 6 wishes or whatever to help get, like, her ex-girlfriend back. And specifically Daphne's charisma and just, like, the way that she was just, like, able to just, like, make you laugh was so great and so funny. I loved it so much. It was so funny learning a little bit more about Daphne and why she was the way that she is, and it was just so funny. She was just so funny, and I love that, honestly. She had this kind of sarcastic humor that I have a lot of the time, where it's kind of like joking about death and things like that, and I'm just like, yeah, Daphne is great. I love her. She is absolutely fantastic. Just absolutely wonderful. Okay, so for question number 8, I have books that made you cry. So I only have about 2 books on this list because I haven't really cried much to books this year. I haven't really found many that have really like tugged on my heartstrings too much, but I already talked about these, and I'll kind of and tell you a little bit more about this and such. But the first one that made me cry this year was The Winners, mostly because of the last 20% of this book had me sobbing, and I just knew where we were going to end. Like, because the way that the series is told, you get told what happens at the end, and it's kind of a thing of like, let's walk back to the beginning and I'll show you the steps and how we got here in the first place. And I just knew from the first sentence that this book was going to make me cry, and I'm pretty sure you can see me cry in the video of me reading Whatever the Hell I Want, because that is the one where I read this book and it just made me sob so fucking much. It wasn't even funny, you know? It was great. It was absolutely wonderful. And then the other book that made me cry this year was actually Her Last Breath by Taylor Adams. I didn't realize how much when I was finishing this book, I was holding my breath and how much emotion I had for these characters by the end of the book. And specifically some characters that I loved, some characters that I hated, and I was just like... like, I had to take a breath, and I had to remind myself I was not in that cave. I had to remind myself I was in that I was not in that cave multiple times, because I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. But yeah, the ending of this, the plot twist got me. Just the ending sentence is the thing that got me the most with this, and you guys will be able to see that in I believe it's me reading my spring TBR, and this was one of the books I read in that, and it was beautifully heartbreaking. It was absolutely wonderful and absolute perfection, like most books are when they make me cry. Question number 9, on the opposite side of that, is books that made you happy. So I have 4 books on this list, 2 of them that I don't have in the physical copy, and this first one, I do technically have a physical copy, but technically my friend is borrowing it technically, so I need to get that back from her soon, but it is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. That book made me very happy, and it was just like, it was a nice little kind of like vacation during the winter time when it was kind of snowy, and it was just kind of just like I couldn't be on the beach like a lot of them, like with like Poppy and Alex. It's not my favorite of Emily Henry's, I will say that, but I do like Alex as like our like male main character in that. And specifically, it was one of those things where I don't really remember too much about the like intricate plot within People We Meet on Vacation, but I would still recommend it because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that's so fun, like that's so sweet, you know? And it just made me kind of smile, and it just overall made me happy. The other one that I have on here is actually The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez, and that is a short little novella that I believe is only on Kindle Unlimited. I think, honestly. I don't remember what it follows too much, but I think it follows 2 people who their stairs get taken out accidentally, and they're kind of stuck on the floor of their apartment, and they just kind of like start to get to know each other and kind of understand each other a little bit, and it just kind of follows from there pretty much. I remember being in a mood of just like, oh, that was fun. It was great. Just having a soft little like smile on my face, being like, yeah, I needed that. that was sweet type of vibe. So that made me happy on that end. And then another book that I actually talked about again as well too earlier in this that made me happy was The Devil She Knows by Alexandra Bellefleur. This made me so happy. It was so funny. Like I said, Daphne was very charismatic. Sam was kind of a bumbling idiot, which in the end kind of like made up for like what happened between the two of them as well too. And it was just so wonderful, so lovely to just kind of see. I just had so much fun. Again, I had smiles on my face when reading this. And I will say, I don't remember too much about the plot, but I do remember actually like truly enjoying it. And it was just a lot of fun, you know? Last one in this category that I have is If We Were a Movie by Zakiya and Jamal. This was so great. It gave me that teenage nostalgia that I was kind of looking for when I was looking to pick up this book, and I absolutely loved it. It was so funny, it was so happy, and it just reminded me of kind of like my time in high school, you know? And it was just one of those things where like, it's definitely for young adults, it is YA, but I feel like if you're in that nostalgic mood, especially during Pride Month, or if you just want to like read anything about inclusion with like Black characters and LGBTQ characters, like this is the book you want to read. It is so great. It is so fun. It is so just like funny. And like I said, it brings back that teenage nostalgia. Like I said, I'm 22. These characters are like 16, 17, I would say. And it was just so nice to read about them as characters and just kind of like reading about them just in general. It was just so much fun. I loved it so much. Okay, so question number 10 is the most beautiful books you've bought this year or have received. Oh man, my friends, I have a couple on here. Well, the first one that I'm going to show you is the one that I received. I received it earlier this year at like the top of January, whenever, and that is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Just look at this cover. It's got like sprayed edges that kind of reference the book. Like you've got like the giant rats along with like the mountainside as well too. Is it focusing? I don't know if it is or not. But then you've got the famous, and I mean famous saying of "As You Wish" with Buttercup and Wesley, along with the castle in the background, and then some more things as well too, like the Cliffs of Insanity, and just so many references to that. And also just this like front cover is just absolutely gorgeous with like the gold plating and things like that. So, I'm excited to read this one this year. So excited for this one. The next one that I have, 3 of these are ones that I technically bought this year, and the other one I've had for a little bit, and that is the deluxe editions of the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I've been wanting to reread this series for a hot minute, so I bought these for myself when they went on sale, I believe, and I was like, I have to get the deluxe editions. I have to. So we have the Naturals, Killer Instinct, All In, and then Bad Blood, which, these guys are just, they're so gorgeous. Like you have this. Let me see what the end pages look like. Oh yes, because this first one, look at that. It looks so good. And then of course, wonderful. I love it so much, you know, but that's this first one. I can't remember what Killer Instinct looks like on the inside. Oh yeah, this one's like the Fibonacci sequence, if you know the reference to that. And then that's the puzzle piece for Killer Instinct as well. So amazing. That one just, so good. So good. And then All In obviously looks like this. All In, oh yes, another Fibonacci and some flowers as well too. I can't remember what the significance of the flowers is. Maybe I need to reread it. And then of course some poker chips that relate to what exactly was happening in this book as well. And then of course the last one, which is Bad Blood. Fibonacci sequence again. So gorgeous. So lovely. And then of course with this as well too. so wonderful. Is it the same on this side too? It is. Okay. Just wanted to make sure, you know? But yeah, that's the naturals that I have there. And then these ones, I technically didn't buy them this year, but they did arrive this year since I pre-ordered them a long time ago. But that is my collector's edition of the Twisted series by Anna Huang. Like, look at how gorgeous, and I mean gorgeous, these guys are. They're so cute and just so wonderful. Like, you've got like this, like, what is this, like felt or something like that, and you've got like these like sprayed edges, and then you've got these end pages with like the couples, and you're just like, oh, so wonderful. Like, you've got that end page, and then you've got this end page where you're just like, oh, so wonderful. My favorite book within this entire stack is Twisted Hate. I love Twisted Hate so much. Like, I just need to show you the end pages for Twisted Hate. Like, are we joking? Are we legitimately joking? Like, I love that. And then this one I think is my favorite of the end pages. Just, oh. Also, along with the quotes on the back of being like, the possibility of you is better than the reality of anyone else. Melting. I am melting in my seat. Oh, so gorgeous. So wonderful. Then question number 11 is, what books do you need to read by the end of this year? Again, going rapid fire with this one, just giving you my thoughts and why I need to read them. First one is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I need to read at least one Kristen Hanna book this year, and this is the one that is going to be there. That's it. That's all you get for explanation. Next up is Shatter Me by Tahera Mafi. I've been wanting to read this for a hot minute. Plus, I just kind of want to try and just see what this series is about, since so many people love it, and there's a new like revival series of this book as well too. Next up is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Like I said, I've been wanting to read this one as well too, and Mom actually picked it out for my July TBR, so you guys will more than likely see me reading this sometime this month, but we shall see how that goes. Then I have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Peak summer romance, peak summery vibes, along with the TV show. Just want to see what this is about. And finally, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I've been needing to read this book ever since the Netflix series came out, and I'm just so curious about this book, the series, and everything that it has to offer in general. Question 12 is, how many 5-star reads have you had this year? So far, I have only had 4 5 stars. 2 of them were actual 5 stars, and then the other 2 were like 6-star God tiers, and I have them around here somewhere. I put the other 2 away-ish and such, but basically my 4 or 5 stars that I've had this year is Us Against You, This Could Be Us, The Winners, and Her Last Breath. Those are my only like 5 stars that I've had. My goal is to try and get at least 10 5 stars this year, but we shall see how that goes. I've mostly been reading like 4 and 3 stars a lot of the time, but hopefully with some of these books that I've mentioned as well too, I might be able to like get more 5 stars, but those are how many 5 stars I've read so far this year. Question number 13 is, what books do you want to reread this year? So I actually have a lot that I want to reread. Some of them I will reread this year. Some of them I probably will not. But the first one that I want to reread this year is the Twisted series. The reason why I'm only holding up Twisted Hate is because I didn't want to grab the rest of my copies. This is my signed copy of Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. As you guys can see right there, it is just, oh, so lovely. But recently they did a re-recording of the Twisted books where you could get them in the duet versions, and I want to listen to them specifically to see if I truly still think Twisted Hate is my favorite, or if like I still love Twisted Love or Twisted Games or Twisted Lies. And I just want to see if I like love the series as much as I've been like hyping it up for years and years and years and years, you know? Another book that I want to reread that's technically kind of like a reread of a series, that is the Dr. Ren Muller books, which is The Butcher and the Wren and The Butcher Game before The Butcher Legacy comes out this year. More than likely, I'm going to reread these before Butcher Legacy comes out because I want to be able to refresh my memory and refresh myself on what exactly happened in these first two novels and such. So I'm prepared for the final and the third book and such. And I'm so excited to finish the series, but also I'm excited to see what Elena does next within her book journey and her book career, you know, and becoming and just like being an author in general. Another one I'm hoping to reread this year is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I'm hoping to reread this for a birthday vlog and such, kind of like the same idea that Sarah Caroli does with her videos, where she rereads her favorite like 5-star books and see if she really loves them as much. And with Book Lovers, like I said before, Funny Story is right now my favorite, but when before that I really loved Book Lovers. But looking back on it, I can't really tell you a single thing that really happens because I can't really remember what happens. So what I need to do is I need to reread this book to see if I loved it as much as I did when I first read it and just kind of figure it out from there. One that is for sure, and I mean for sure, going to be reread this year is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love this book so fucking much. It's not even funny. I love it so much. It is my all-time favorite book of all goddamn time. So great, so wonderful, just so excited for this, and also just to kind of see if I missed anything when reading this book. I might audiobook it again, but I might even just like read it just like by myself, you know? And it's just, I'm scared, but I do know what already happened, so I might not cry my eyes off that much, but I might later. We shall see how that goes, but this one's for sure going to be reread this year. The last reread is actually an interesting one. It's not technically a 5-star, but I have really fond memories when I first read this, and that is The Wedding People by Alison Espach. I remember reading this and just absolutely enjoying my time, and I want to reread it again because I feel like I missed a lot of important moments and important things when it comes to the story, and specifically how some life lessons are meant to be taught and how things are meant to be perceived, or even just like knowing my own perceival of things. It was just like, I remember having such a good time with this book, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to reread this again. So hopefully I will be able to reread this year. Also, can you all tell that I am getting tired? I've been recording for the last like hour or so, and thankfully I don't have too many more questions left. I have 3 more questions left. And thankfully this other one is fairly short, which is question number 14, which is, what is your physical TBR at? Like I said, I've been keeping track of my physical TBR, and currently I have 189 books on my physical TBR, which I believe is the lowest I have had it in a very long time. And as you guys know, I've been trying my best to keep that number going down and keeping it to where it is manageable and where I don't feel like I want to have a headache every time I look at my TBR and look at my TBR cards and look at my bookshelves and think, I've got this one, I've got this one, I've got this one, I've got this one. And I'm like, oh, geez. Oh, God. But yeah, that's what my physical TBR is at. And then question number 15 is a book you enjoyed with mixed reviews. Now, this one was a little bit of a hard one to do because some of the books I read, I'm like, okay, they either have really good reviews, very middle reviews, or very like bad reviews, just kind of in general. But with this one, there were so many mixed opinions and such, which I gave this a 3-star originally when I read it and such. And I think it's still a 3-star because I remember having a good time with talking about the grief element of this story, but the romance was not my favorite thing in the world, and that is Just Friends by Haley Pham. You guys know a lot about this book. I'm not gonna talk about this book because so many people know what this book is about. Just Friends had very, very mixed reviews when I was first going into it, and I didn't know if I was gonna love it. I didn't know if I was gonna hate it. And as the story, when the story first started out, I was like, okay, why are we using these words right here and another one right there and there and there? And then as the story kept going on, I was like, that makes sense for Blair's character and such. And then as the romance kept coming on, it literally felt like that nothing was happening between the characters. The only thing that I really remember enjoying about this is Haley's depiction of grief. It was very much more like a fiction rather than a romance, which, I don't know, it makes sense, honestly, you know? And I do think I want to continue reading more of Haley's books if she decides to make more books in the future. I think she's editing her second book right now, but I could be very, very wrong. We shall see how that goes, you know? But yeah, I did like it. I don't know if I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to answer this question, and this book seemed like the best option for this one. And now we are at the final question of the book tag, which is, what are some 5-star predictions for the rest of the year? So in this one, I have 4 different ones. 2 of them are not here yet because they still need to come out, and 2 I have over here just kind of waiting. So an obvious 5-star prediction for me is Heartstopper Volume 6. More than likely, it will be a 6-star personally because I loved Volume 4 and 5 the most. That one was definitely a 6-star for me personally, and I just know that this story and its conclusion, it's gonna more than likely break me, but I'm also going to be so excited to see if they truly do last, you know, because high school romances, they sometimes last, or they sometimes don't. It just kind of depends on just like what happens, you know? And I'm so excited for that one, you know? And then the other one that I have that I don't technically have yet because it's not published yet is The Butcher Legacy. The Butcher and the Wren and The Butcher Game have all been 5 stars for me personally, especially on the rereads for The Butcher and the Wren. I rated that book 5 stars again after rereading it, and I just know this series is gonna be so good. It's gonna be so fun. I'm excited to see where it goes, but also I know that it's more than likely going to break my heart, and that is more than likely going to add to my distress and my love for this series. But you know what? It's a-okay. Then the next one that I have that I know for sure, or maybe will be a 5-star that I have in the physical form, is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. I have been seeing this book nonstop because it is one of those things where it came out, did it come out this year or did it come out last year? I can't remember when exactly this one came out, but pretty much almost anybody that I have seen with this book have just, oh yeah, it came out last year. But basically everybody that I've seen with this book has either been crying or have been like, this is the best thing that I have ever read and seen in my entire life, you know? And I'm like, I'm intrigued. I love these types of fiction stories, and I do like the additive thing of like having letters and emails kind of like back and forth with people and things like that. And it was just one of those things where I was just like, oh, this is great. I think it's gonna be one of those things where it is going to 100% get me in my feels, and I think I'm gonna like it in that way, but I think it's also gonna be one of those things where it's going to give me lots and lots of emotional damage. I will say that at least. So, and then my last book that I have here that I am hoping is going to be a 5-star prediction because of just knowing my taste and knowing what this is about, is The Names by Florence Knapp. This is another one that became very popular as of last year. It was May 2025's book of the month. I really think I'm going to enjoy this because it's going to be following the same character but through different names depending on what he is named after. And I don't remember what the names are off the top of my head that we're following in this, but anytime I've seen somebody read this, they have either cried or they have just been so shocked about what was happening within the story. And I was like, I think I'm gonna like this. I think it's gonna be unexpected. I think it's gonna be something that I'm just gonna like connect with instantly and just be like, oh my God, this is insane. Plus, it's also fiction as well, too. I think it's something even along the lines of like speculative fiction, but I'm not too sure off the top of my head, but we shall see. And that, of course, my friends, concludes the end of the mid-year book tag. So thank you guys again so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, please make sure to like and comment down below. If you don't know what to comment down below, tell me how many 5 stars you've had this year, whether or not you've had 1 or 5 or 10, honestly. Tell me how many 5 stars you have had so far this year. If you liked me, please make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications. You guys know that I post every Monday with reading, writing, or lifestyle vlogs. And then on Wednesdays, I do bookish vlogs, or not bookish vlogs, I do bookish content like this guy, TBRs, and I just go through some bookish things of whatever and just kind of talk to you guys directly about bookish things. And then on Fridays, we obviously do Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. We are having a blast, and I mean a blast over there. It is so much fun. It's so funny. It's so just amazing to just kind of read and just kind of be like, yeah, this is great, and just so fun. It's a nice little thing to kind of get away from the reading and things like that. And of course, if you want to follow me somewhere else on the internet, I've got my Fable, my Goodreads, my TikTok, and my Instagram down below, along with my bookshop.org. And if you want to check out any of the books that were mentioned in this vlog, I'm going to have a list in the description down below to where you can go to bookshop.org. And if you feel like buying any of these books on your radar, you can click on any of the books in the list and it will take you to buy it so that you can support it through an independent bookstore and such of your choosing. And it's just so much fun to kind of like do that pretty much. Yeah, you can use my link in the description to do that. So yeah, again, thank you guys again for watching, and I truly hope that you guys have an amazing day, week, month, and year. See you later, friends.